Hi everyone, my name is Erica Lim. These are my teammates Caroline, Andrew, and Cody, and we are Team 1.4 presenting the salsa strategy. So Bantu Kumba is going to be an anesthesiologist by 2028. After emigrating from Ethiopia at age 11, she didn't speak a lick of English and dedicated herself heart and soul to learning the language. She also, along the way, discovered a passion for science and dreams of using medicine to bring equal opportunities to all who deserve it. Through LIWC, she has participated in the Teen Health Promoters Program, gaining firsthand exposure to and experience in the healthcare industry. This story and thousands of others are made possible solely by the incredible programming at LAYC. So I will run through LAYC's current situation. Cody will run through our strategy. Andrew will discuss revenue diversification. Caroline will discuss our volunteer program before we wrap it up and take questions. So since 1968, LIWC has fostered youth and their needs in social aspects, career, and academic through the development of over 50 diverse programs. Through these 50 programs, they've developed this competitive advantage, or something they like to call salsa, in youth development. Their current situation looks like this. They have a very highly convoluted organizational structure. They have an unsustainable financing, evident in the fact that for fiscal years 2013 and 2014, they had an operating loss of over $700,000. Finally, they have an underutilized volunteer base. Cody.
Thanks, Erica. So to further utilize LAYC's salsa, what we decided to do is weigh the costs and the benefits using their performance metrics that we thought most aligned with their strategies. So what we did is we figured out that a consulting branch of the offshoot of the professional youth development program, as well as developing a volunteer, more aggressive volunteer strategy, would really benefit the company as a whole. So what we came up with was the developing alternative revenue streams, as well as increasing the strength of our volunteer program. We really thought that these were the most important areas to focus on because we saw the most value created out of both of them. Under our strategy, we thought that this was the best place to where we could capture alternative revenues, grow the company as a whole, as well as increasing the interaction between the youth as well as the volunteers. So that being said, we realized that there is a tremendous opportunity in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, which we think is, for the current status, it's a little underutilized. And what we wanted to do was find out what the most beneficial strategy was going forward. So we've realized that with the consulting branch, we could create a net present value between $1.38 and $1.44 million.
So as such, we can see that LAYC has a need for both not only revenue diversification, but also revenue increasing. Essentially, that we believe that we should revitalize Impactive Consulting as a specialist unit devoted to implementing the PYD location and multiple other locations. There are several benefits to licensing out the PYD program. Number one, it will help other organizations better help the youth in need, which is very critical to advancing our core social mission. Number two, we plan to rebrand the PYD program to help LAYC differentiate itself from the other local DC nonprofits such as DC Reed's Alternative Youth Program. This will expand the recognition of LAYC and help it compete against other local nonprofits more effectively. Finally, we believe that is a truly excellent revenue opportunity. There are three main potential licensing options available for LAYC. Number one, we could license it out generally. This would entail week-long educational seminars at client organizations. Number two, we could focus on consulting team-based customization, a more in-depth approach. And number three, we could focus on partnerships with local universities and forming continuing education units. We believe, however, that the most important strategy that is most efficient at satisfying both our social and our monetary goals is the second one, consulting team-based customization.
So the second portion of our strategy involves looking at the volunteer program. So right now, as we were looking at our current volunteer program, we noticed three main weaknesses. Those are in recruiting, effectiveness, and retention. We really want to make it easier for our volunteers to apply for these jobs, to schedule themselves for shifts, and then to actually stay committed to the organization, make it easy for them to get involved and stay involved long term. So here in the nation's capital, we actually have a lot of wonderful universities, some of the best in the country. And these include Catholic, AU, UDC, Georgetown, GW, and Howard. These universities have motivated, forward-thinking college students with an interest in social justice and entrepreneurship, and I think they'd really love to help us out. If 1% of these 41,000 students can dedicate themselves to 3 two-hour shifts over the course of a school year, LIYC can benefit from over 600 extra volunteer shifts. And our data shows that the more touch points, the better the outcomes. So we quickly compared and contrast our organization against some similar ones that offer pretty similar services. And as you can see, we're not really making the most of our volunteer base, 40 to 100 versus about 1,000 and over 600. So when we were thinking about some really great industries and skills that we could explore, coding came to mind immediately. The software development industry is huge. Computer science is an incredibly popular major, and we want to capitalize on that. So there's so many undergrads that are pursuing careers in tech, and they want to share these skills. They want to get community service opportunities. They want to learn. They want to lead. That's what we're doing with LAY Codes. This is a club that would meet twice monthly and providing coding classes to our LAYC youth. This would benefit both the youth and the volunteers. This program has 3 main points: to empower community youth, to engage local college students, and lastly, to build community. It's an extra mentoring opportunity for our youth. This is our Salsa app project, and this is the first project that LAY Codes would be tasked with. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to make it easier for our volunteers to schedule themselves for shifts. I want them to be able to do it on the fly. So Cody, can you help me out here? Cody is a college student, and he wants to help with homework tutoring. Super easy. He just confirmed his spot. Cody's heading over there this afternoon, and this could be you guys soon. So this is just our prototype, but the idea is that the students themselves be the ones making Salsa app. This is what we came up with, but we're super excited to see what the students can do. We'd like to open up the floor to any questions. Yes.
So I was wondering if we could go back to the reasoning why you selected the second option around I believe it's the consulting team-based approach and kind of where the revenue numbers were coming from.
Sure. So basically, we decided that we just looked at the social and monetary benefits and costs of each of these options. The first option is basically like a generic licensing out of the PYD curriculum to other organizations. What that really entails is like a week-long seminar program where we send out a small team of specialists to basically explain the fundamentals of the PYD program and explain to them how they can customize it for their organization only in its implementation. And we estimated the NPV of this program as being between $194,000 to $201,000, depending on our different costs of capitals. The second option that we looked at was a consulting team-based customization strategy. This entails sending out a team of motivated individuals who are going to go really into deep detail about what the organization that they're partnering with is doing and how they can best use the elements of the PYD program. So this entails a significantly longer commitment. On average, the job is going to be 37 days long, and full days too, 8 hours a day. So this is going to be providing the most benefit to the lives of the children because we think that the organizations that we are partnering with in this manner will be best able to help the lives of the children that they serve. And because of the more in-depth customization, we will be creating and claiming more customer value. So we'll be able to raise prices on that service. This gives us an NPV of about $1.4 to $1.44 million. The continuing education unit is mostly like you partner with a local university to teach young professionals like a particular skill set based on the PYD curriculum. This is more about helping individuals more than organizations though. So we think that the primary beneficiary of our programs should be the children in need in DC and the local areas. So that's why we don't think that this third option really is appropriate for LACY's true vision.
Could you talk about how you came up with 1.3 to 1.4 million?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. To come up with our cost of capital, I looked into how you find the cost of capital for a nonprofit. So I looked into publicly traded consulting firms, and I weeded out the ones that were involved in, or maybe like environmental consulting or litigation. So these 6 are the ones I used, and they're as close to management consulting as I could get. And I got an unlevered beta of 0.9053 using the 60 returns for the past 60 months. Then I relevered using their debt equals notes payable, and instead of equity, I used nonprofit fund capital, totaling, it's not there. And then I Googled, the average MRP used for 1,400 companies in America, so that's 5.5%. And finally, we tested 4 different risk-free rates, and then reduced the WACC by 100 basis points because as a nonprofit, it's a little less risky than a publicly traded company. So we yielded 6.9% as a WACC, and then a more conservative 8.09.
All right, so the continuation of that is that basically what I did in terms of determining these projects' cost structures is I looked at what the inputs of these programs would be. Generally, this is like a service type of thing, so all this is going to be people and the things that they're doing. A lot of the expenses are the same across this particular project and the rest of the organization. Insurance is going to be similar. Training is going to be a little bit different, but we make specific changes based on what we estimate training costs will be for the different programs. Communication services will be pretty similar. So we looked at the average, we looked at the cost of all the services that they currently provide, and we kind of mapped out how much the cost would be, assuming that they'd be relatively similar based on the number of employees in each of these programs. And we connected those costs to the programs just by making them equivalent, essentially, because it is pretty equivalent in terms of what we're paying for. And then we calculated out an optimal contribution margin of 50% to get our price, and we determined revenues and expenses as such from that. And that led us to this NPV of, depending on what WACC you're using, up to $1.44 million. Any other questions?
Hey, good afternoon, and Cody, thank you for the jump. Can you go back to the LA codes and walk me through how you got there, what is just a salsa app? Walk me through what the future of that is and where you see the potential of that going.
So we really wanted to create a program that would not only help us out with our scheduling interface, but also teach really marketable skills. So everybody knows computer software development is huge. It's a wonderful, wonderful skill to build as you're starting your career. And a lot of college students are now joining coding clubs and getting involved with this in their free time if they're not studying it in school. And so we want to extend this to underserved youth and to give them that same opportunity. These are invaluable skills. These are going to help them for their entire life, for their entire career. So the idea is that we wanted to put together a group that isn't going to cost the organization itself extra money. So by using student volunteers who are probably already looking for ways to help out in the community, to start teaching, to start building leadership skills, we don't actually have to pay any extra salaries. These kids can come in, they can teach, they can mentor, and they can just instill an interest in this industry, get them interested in it, and that'll hopefully motivate them to continue pursuing education, of course. And as I pointed out, in addition to empowering and engaging those communities separately, we're also community building. So it's creating another mentorship opportunity. LAYC also has a few mentoring programs already in place, and we think this would be a really nice informal one for college students to get to know our youth at the center.
Thanks. Can you go back to where you were analyzing the three options, or at a high level, looking at the three options, you looked at the consulting, right? You say the continuing education detracts from LAC-wise true vision. Why is that exactly?
Well, we believe that the most important part of our program is helping the children. The continuing education unit is going to train individuals in a classroom setting, essentially, who are not connected with each other. They're not part of the same organization, that kind of thing. They're not really using these PYD program skills together to optimize a certain organization to better take care of their youth in need. But this is mainly going to help out children if these individuals go into organizations and apply these skills. But it's not really comparable to the kind of optimization that you get if you teach an organization like how to use this skill. Like this would be helpful if like one new member comes into an organization and they take on the entire responsibility of teaching the entire, like revamping the whole culture and maximizing the benefits of their PYD education in that system. It's relatively much more difficult and probably not going to be as impactful in like teaching these other organizations how they can best improve the lives of the children that they take care of.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. You now have 5 minutes for your concluding remarks.
So I introduced our strategy as the salsa strategy, and I'm going to take it home with a circular reference just for the giggles. Okay, so salsa is meant to be shared with family and friends, and by implementing our two-pronged DV strategy, we believe that LAYC will successfully share its salsa across the country. So LAYC's Impacto consulting practice will yield a positive net present value of 1.38 to 1.44 million in an ideal world over the next 5 years, and that value is approximately equal to the amount of government grants that they received in 2014, encouraging the idea that LAYC can reduce their public support to near 33%, which is the required percentage of public support for a 501c3 nonprofit. And the increasing revenues over time encourages, they're going to be able to fund expansion across DC and across the country, impacting youth both directly and indirectly. And let's see. Oh my God. Finally, restructuring the volunteer program will recruit and retain volunteers. It will engage youths in participating in more of LAYC's programming. It will introduce them to coding and entrepreneurship, and overall, and most importantly, strengthen these youth volunteer relationships. So at the end of the day, this Impacto consulting will yield a net present social value of infinite proportions. Thank you.